evolution can also mean that overarching paradigm, which is really a commitment to naturalistic explanations for the origin and the history and the diversity of life on Earth.
Does the scientific data force us to accept these kinds of evolution?
Well, I don't think
let's throw
so,
it to you.
Well, I mean, I would say the answer is no. Clearly evolutionary biologists would argue that there's compelling evidence for an evolutionary history to life on Earth.
And so this is the macroevolution, everything encompassed in it.
Exactly. And they would point to things like shared biological features among organisms, with the argument being that those shared features must be found in the ancestral organism that gave rise to the different lineages. Or they might point to the fossil record and say, look, we see a history of life on Earth where there's different life forms at different times, so hence life evolved. But there are plenty of reasons to think that this evolutionary mechanism, in a broad sense, is insufficient to account for the origin, the history, and the design of life.
Well, so what are kind of two or three of your best examples?
Well, for example, I would point to the origin of life question.
That's right.
Okay, so this is the original chemical evolution.
That's exactly right. Even people that are atheists, that are deeply committed to the evolutionary paradigm, that are actively working on that problem, will readily admit we have no explanation for how life originates. Or you look at an event like the Cambrian explosion, which is the first appearance of complex animals on the surface of the Earth.
So this would be kind of up at that species level, or even beyond the species level.
At the phylum level.
So this is a big deal.
Right. There's just not an explanation for why suddenly, virtually out of nowhere in a geological instant, we see this explosive appearance of all these different animal phyla. So these are two places where the paradigm at this point in time has no explanation for these events in life's history.
So with this is a place where there's not an adequate explanation. So are you saying, well, okay, obviously God did it here, or what are you saying?
No, I would say that it means that it's unsustainable to say that life's origin, history, and design can be completely accounted for through evolutionary mechanisms, because these are places where it's clear at this point in time that that's not the case.
Okay, so stated another way, it's not that we can necessarily say where God intervened or not, but to claim that evolution accounts for everything and therefore God doesn't exist is inadequate, because there are these clear places where the mechanism is insufficient at this point.
Yes.
Not even weighing in on what might we find in the future.
That's exactly
okay.
Right. Yes.
So let me throw a different question out there. We've talked a little bit about what evolution is, what it can't, or some of the problems with it.
I actually like to add something to what evolution is, because you guys have already touched on it in Fuz's question and response, but evolution can also mean that overarching paradigm, which is really a commitment to naturalistic explanations for the origin and the history and the diversity of life on Earth. So we also have to think about that sixth category, which is sort of overarching all of the other categories, and it's really a philosophical paradigm.